15-minute, 10-second game. Just doing the last one for chess for normal folk. Nice simple development of the knight, supporting the simple pawn in the centre. Going to continue with opening up our white squared bishop. Not taking the pawn in the centre just at the minute. I think if they don't take us back now, we will then take on potentially the move after next. Bring the bishop out, but as I've always mentioned, sometimes I really just don't take the bishop back, with the bishop. But in this particular position, I think it's probably worth taking the bishop back rather than doubling the pawns, because it's giving them something to think about in terms of we're pressuring the pawn that has no defense on it in the center, keeping it as simple as possible in our casual chess world. So the simpler the better. If it makes sense to you as a normal chess player, we can take this pawn here now, because we're basically established in our starting point in the opening of this chess game. And it really is just about understanding what it is that you're doing in the game. We are going to develop the knight. We're wanting to try and make space to actually get castled so our king can get to safety. And we're noticing the opponent is getting their pieces out, but there doesn't look like there's a major attack coming towards us, so it may give us time to get castled and also develop our pieces out. If we can get our dark square bishop out as well, gives us space to actually go in for castling on the king side. But it might be that there's activities that are taking place that we can take advantage of before we go and castle. But as normal folk, castling is probably one of our staple diet maneuvers in terms of king safety, because there's nothing worse than having your king all airy and then suddenly the opponent finds a way of constantly putting checks on your king. Then you're feeling uncomfortable in the game, then you're disadvantaged positionally, and then you're getting checkmated or losing material because you're having to defend your king. So 9 times out of 10, probably best castling if you get that opportunity. Opponent's gone into a long think now. Okay, so they're developing the knight, so developing the pieces, probably thinking, why are they moving the knight here? It's got no real purpose. We will bring our dark square bishop out. Let's not rush it. So we are looking to prepare to castle. They did have the opportunity to castle on the king side. So it looks to me like they're going to be castling on the queen side because they haven't castled king side. So can we take an opportunity to even think about that? I think we're going to still move the dark square bishop. Why am I deliberating? I was thinking starting pushing the A pawns up towards the queen side to make them feel uncomfortable. But we may lose tempo and we may not get castled ourselves. So let's just bring the bishop out. So I'm expecting their queen to move now, so they go and castle on the queen side. But it might be that they were just thinking, oh, let's just get our minor pieces out and then we'll castle on the king side. But when I've seen these types of situations, more times out of 10, it looks like they're going to be castling queen side. Maybe it's because their F pawn's gone and they're thinking, well, my king's not going to be safe. Yep, queen move, like we said. So it looks like they're definitely going queenside castling. So that means then they're going to be focusing their attacks on our king side. Are we ready for that? Is there anything we can do in the meantime? They're going for deliberate moves, taking the time, focused moves. They do have the knight, the bishop, queens in the direction of our king if we castle king side. I don't think there's anything too major really to worry about. So I think we will just castle on the king side. So what's our next thing? Once they've castled on the queen side, which they have done. So at least we're understanding what the opponent was attempting to do. So we've followed our track quite nicely. So the next thing then is, you've obviously heard many times when if you're castling on the opposite sides, then you start attacking towards their king side. And that's all you'll see in the game. Sounds kind of dry, but that's the practicality of what's going to happen in this game. They're going to start attacking our king side. We're going to start attacking their king side. And that's all that's going to happen. If they start attacking through the centre, then that might be better for us because maybe they're losing a bit of traction in terms of attacking to the king side. So we'll see what they're wanting to do. We're going to start with our A-pawn attack towards the king side. And they're blocking that off straight away. The knight is protecting that pawn currently. We can hit the pawn again, which is what we're logically going to do. Now they will take straight away because they've got the knight and the pawn on there. So basically if our bishop takes, then the knight would take for free. So they will take the pawn. But we are trying to free up space around their king, so we're just going to move the bishop back. As normal folk, we have, in my head anyway, I've got to get to the understanding that at some point you're going to have to break. You're going to have to take that risk, and you're going to have to sacrifice pieces or a piece or a position or something on the board in order to feel any advantage later on in the game. So they were going to be taking the pawn because it's for free, so they're +1 now, but we've got the smallest of invitations towards their king side. It's kind of messed up their castle on their king side. That was the objective. And it's key, if you're brave enough you can get away with it. Just because you're down a pawn doesn't mean you've lost the game, especially if you've done it on purpose and you have a strategical plan. Yeah, which simple plan of, well, opening up space around their king area. We can't get to it just yet, but it's chipping away at the castle. Now the king's panicking, as we can see. The king's panicking, it's going away, doesn't want anything to do with that that show. Can we do anything? So that's a very quick panic move with the king. But can we do anything about it? I'm plumping to hit the pawn again to try and make some space towards that king area. His king is just dancing all over the place. Oh, that's very funny. And it's nothing to say there's anything major there. We're down a pawn. If they played normal chess, they can still play with their king staying in that same position. They didn't really need to panic this much and move the king again because we're not even anywhere near their king area at the moment. So we're still chopping away, and now he's got 2 pieces defending again on the pawn areas. Open that up so the queen can defend as well, so the knight can take. So we'll take here, and if the knight does take, we can take the pawn in the centre, but the queen will be able to take. And then we can take the knight here with the bishop. All depends. Depends how we're feeling. We're just trying to be disruptive, trying to create a bit of mayhem, and along the way trying to improve our position. So the knight will take the pawn. Yep. And then our knight takes the pawn in the centre with a check on the king. The queen's going to take that knight. We'll take his knight with our bishop. Yep, so they have taken. So, like I said, going to take here with the knight. So it looks scrappy, looks messy, but we're trying to get a position that improves our attackability towards their king, if anything. So we're making space. Their king looks a little bit airy at the minute. Now we're taking proper advantage of that. Us as normal folk, we want to enjoy our games, and they have taken, so we will take here. So currently it's even Stevens. They do have pieces facing towards our king. We have to be mindful of that. The queen is on our rook, but it has got defences. I would assume their rooks are going to kind of go behind the queen to put pressure on our dark square bishop. What can we do? If we push the A pawn, make space for the queen to put a check on their king, they can simply drop the pawn, but then we'll be able to take the B pawn. Little things like that, but you know, they may take a while because they may give us things to think about, as we mentioned, with the rook coming behind the queen, attacking the dark square bishop. So all depends on what the opponent's wanting to do. As mentioned in the previous chess for normal folk, just try and block off what the opponent can potentially do. And if there's weak spaces, there's weak pieces or weak squares, anything, and taking advantage of those, using the smaller pieces to attack higher pieces, to give the opponent something to think about, usually gets more of a response if it is a smaller piece attacking a higher piece. Teamwork is key, especially to building towards the end game. In this particular position here, I would say really and truly, even though the queens are on the board, I would class this now as end game because of the position on the board. All the castling's been done, the opening's been done, and we've transitioned from the opening to the mid. Now basically I'm saying we're in end game territory now, even though the queens are on the board, just based on the position. Most would go, no, the queens are still on the board, so he's still in the mid game. Got to change that mindset, because at the end of the day, you really want to end the game. You don't really want to dance around in the mid game. You have to have that mindset of, well, how do I end the game? So I'm now in end game mode as far as I'm concerned. There's no strength in any of the positioning. It's just we're understanding what we need to do, the potential for them to be doubling up on the bishop, anything else. They've got pieces coming towards our king area, so the knight's jumping to g5 with the queen attacking the king. That's a potential. So we'd have to block that off as well. So maybe just a g6 type maneuver. But it does bring the knight in, putting a check on the king. So we've got to be very mindful of those types of funky positions that they could go for. Excuse me. But they're putting in the time. Oh, okay. So they've decided to move. They've blocked the pawn from pushing forward. And it's opened up space for the queen, but it looks like it's doing more of a blocking, keeping our bishop jammed in. King is on a dark square. As we mentioned, we were looking to push our A pawn to maybe get the queen coming, putting a check on their king. small potatoes. Bishop could swing out to the f6 and attack their b pawn. Then bringing the rooks, attacking their queen. But they took a long time over that move, and they've just pushed the pawn down. Just does look like it's mainly a blocking move. So I'm going to push our pawn with the idea of trying to manage some damage towards their king with the queen, and then get the dark square bishop onto the f, try and work our way around that way. And then obviously the rooks will come into the own if the queen's still on the e file, and then we can bring it to the c file as well. So strategically, the holistic type positioning, I can see, I can visualize, but it all really depends on what the opponent does. So I'm reacting move by move based on what the opponent is doing, whilst I'm trying to fit into the strategical holistic plan. So they've moved there a bit quicker this time, moved with the rook. So we can put a check on their king. Like we said, the pawn is going to drop. So if we brought the bishop to the f6, the pawn is still going to drop. Is there anything better? If we move the bishop, then the pawn drops, then the rook comes and attacks the queen. Queen can go anywhere, but it does give the rook a little bit of space to go to e2 and put a check on their king. So that's a better plan, I think, than putting the queen up. I think we will bring the bishop here and follow that little mini plan of the rook coming facing the queen, queen moves, and then basically going to e2, putting a check on the king. As usual, depends on what the opponent does. They may do something to block that off, might bring their rook behind their queen. So the intricacies of chess is as intricate as really you want to make it, but it's more interesting being able to talk through a strategy, your planning, you know, the ideas, your motivations in the game, and that's really what keeps me going playing chess, is that trying to get that understanding of better play and realizing there are better moves that can be made, but then every move is a bad move in the eyes of a computer. Yeah, so you've got to rationalize in your own head what is a better move for your particular game. And they've resigned. Oh, I don't know why, if it was a resigned thing, we really wanted to play that one. Shall we just have a look at the analysis? It's showing -3. The king is a bit airy, so I can appreciate that side of things. The king is a bit airy, but you know, you could still play on with it. Importance of castling, or importance of some type of castling so that your king feels safe. I would say for this particular game here, for us as normal folk, this is why the opponents resign probably, is that the king feels a little bit airy and positionally it doesn't feel safe. So if you can just keep your king as safe as possible, whether that's virtual castling, whereby if you've not gone the normal traditional castling route like we have, then get your king to some sort of safe area where there's pieces around it that make it feel comfortable, make it feel like it's got a bit of company. Then you're going to continue in the game. But this king is left in the middle of the board. It's got no real protection on it, and it is feeling a bit airy. So probably that's why the opponent resigned. Chess for normal folk.